friends, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to have part 2 of British words that are slang words that I still don't fully feel comfortable using. If you're new here, you may not know, I'm Canadian, my husband is British, I now live in the UK, and there's been a lot of words that I have to get used to. So with that, if you haven't seen the previous video, I'll have it linked for you right here. Don't click off just yet, finish watching this one, and then you can add that one to the queue and watch that video next, which brings me to the first word, queue. I think most North Americans will understand what that word means, but it's not one that comes out of the vocabulary very often. But if you don't know what it basically means to line up, or yeah, like a lineup, what's coming next in the queue. And so I never use the word line up here anymore, but I still don't feel comfortable using the word queue, unless it was 30 seconds ago where I just used the word queue. So let's get into the actual list that I wanted to talk to you about today. If you are an Anglophile, if you are someone that you are looking to move to the UK, I'd be so honored if you press subscribe and join me on this series all about being an Anglophile and how you can be one, and maybe some of the things that you will love about being in England too. Right, so the next term that I want to talk about is, it's called like leg it, like I'm gonna leg it. Now it makes sense, doesn't it? Leg. I think you could kind of put 2 and 2 together. Leg it, running. Maybe you see the bus and you're like, okay, let's leg it. Does that make sense, or does it sound foreign to you? Now the next word, I've completely switched, I'm not gonna lie, is contactless. And if you're British and you're watching this, you might be saying, well, what did you say when you were in Canada? And we say tap, because when you're gonna use the contactless, you're gonna tap it. So tap is just way shorter and way easier to say than contactless, right? So when my husband and I went to Canada recently, when we came back from Canada, my husband switched from saying contactless to tap. And he's like, it's just way easier to say tap than contactless. So yeah, they say contactless here. Now the next saying, I have switched, I won't lie, I have switched, but then when I went back to Canada, I did switch back. But that is car park. So instead of parking lot, car park. And I think I switched just for the same reason where my husband switched to tap. I'm getting confused. But car park is shorter than parking lot. There's less syllables, so it's easier to say car park than parking lot. Does that make sense? All right, so the next saying I definitely don't say. It just does not feel right coming out of my mouth, and that is skint. I'm skint. It makes me feel like I'm naked. I don't know why, but I just, it's not a word that I use. Paul uses it, but yeah, skint. It basically means you don't have money. So the next one, I have never and can't imagine myself ever using, and that is bog or bog roll. Now I think when I say bog roll, you can understand what it is. But if I had just said bog, would you have known? Probably not. Because to me, a bog is like a wet marshland where they find bodies. Let me know if you understand that reference. But yeah, bog roll is basically toilet paper. That's actually another thing I think I have shifted. Instead of saying toilet paper, which I should look at, I did take groceries, a list for groceries this past week, and I did need toilet paper, and I don't know if we should see what I wrote, and then I'll be able to tell you, oh yeah, I put toilet paper. So that tells you I have not switched to the British way of saying it just yet, but Paul will say toilet roll, not toilet paper. And sometimes he does say bog roll, which I would never bring myself to say. The next word is chav. Now I have found myself saying this word every now and then because I feel like a chav is such a specific aesthetic of person. So yeah, to me, chav, the word chav is just like a certain type of person. It's like they look a certain way. Just like how if someone said a football hooligan, I guess that's another term that I would never really use, but a football hooligan dresses a certain way, talks a certain way, acts a certain way, and so that's kind of how I look at a chav. They probably have a certain type of makeup, a certain type of hair. If it's a guy, they wear a certain type of clothes, etc. And so for me personally, I don't really use the word unless I see someone who like fits all of those descriptions. Does that make sense? So the next word I really never use, and that is bird. I think it is so, not derogatory, but I would never call someone a broad. And I feel like bird is the British version of saying broad, like a female. So the next saying is cheeky. I don't use that. And then git. So you can use both of those together. I don't use either of those on its own. It kind of confuses me. But cheeky would be like if you're kind of being a little bit mischievous. And then git is like, I don't even know what git is. Like a cheeky person. Let's just quickly look it up. Definition of git. An unpleasant or contemptible person. Cheeky git. Okay, so this next saying I do say every now and then, and that is slag off. So that basically means if you are talking badly about somebody, you're slagging them off. The next word, I never use this word. I get it, but I never use it, and it's Muppet. So if Paul was saying something like, I'm not a Muppet, and I think it just means like literally like you can't, like, you know, like a Muppet, like a hand Muppet, like you wouldn't, he's not that. You can't just like make him do anything stupid or anything that you want. Does that make sense? And if you're British and there's a better way of explaining that, let me know in the comments. Okay, we've got two more. One is pied off. Again, using Paul as an example, he might say, I pied her off, or she pied me off, and it basically means like he wasn't interested or she wasn't interested, so he just kind of like, he or she just kind of like didn't follow through with anything, ghosted, maybe. I would say, well, I was gonna say ghosted and pied off could be similar, but not necessarily, because I think you can tell somebody that you're not interested and you could still pie them off that way, whereas ghosting, you just disappear like a ghost. But I think you understand the term. Now the last one is faffing. Faffing about, faff, like to faff. I don't understand where that word came from, but I'm not gonna lie, it slips into my vocabulary every now and then. What did you think of those words? Do you use any of them? Are you a North American in the UK? Do you feel a little bit like an imposter if you say these words? Come be my kindred folk in the comments and let me know I'm not the only one. Thank you so much for watching. If you're an Anglophile like myself, then you'll want to see the rest of the videos in this series. If not, I hope you were at least entertained. Have a good one.